Chapter 3076. Zhu Wuxian's eyelids drooped as his black pupils were deep and cold, as he stared fixedly into her eyes. That grave and stern face, magnified into Yi Qing Luo's pupils. His thin lips curled into a faint cold arc. Let me hug a little longer. Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's voice wasn't considered very gentle. But as compared to his icy cold, stiff tone, it was considered much gentler. Especially with that faint smile on his face. Yi Qing Luo only felt a layer of goosebumps all over her body. Her lips twitched a few times. Zhu Wuxian, are you King sick? Yi Qing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she tugged Zhu Wuxian's arm, which was covered by the human face skin, and exerted force. Her petite body left Zhu Wuxian's embrace. Her 5 fingers swiftly locked onto Zhu Wuxian's wrist, making use of the silver silk shot out from the glower flame fan in an attempt to prevent the human face skin and Zhu Wuxian from merging. But Yi Qing Luo's speed was ultimately a step too slow. Just at the instance when the silver silk shot out, the human face skin had completely merged into Zhu Wuxian's arm along his palm. Yi Qing Luo tugged on his arm as she gritted her teeth and scolded Zhu Wuxian, has your brain been kicked by a donkey? Can't you feel the danger of this human face skin? You're just going to allow this human face skin to enter your body and control you. Do you find it interesting? Yi Qing Luo was truly speechless towards Zhu Wuxian. There was obviously a chance to stop the human face skin from merging. But Zhu Wuxian didn't think much of it. She had to be suspicious. Was Zhu Wuxian intentionally trying to make the human face skin merge with him? Just as Yi Qing Luo was going crazy, Zhu Wuxian's slightly amused voice rang in his ears. Very interesting. Interesting. Tell me, what's interesting about it? Yi Qing Luo was about to explode. Zhu Wuxian's deep eyes gazed deeply at her. That gaze was mixed with a sliver of, not obvious gentleness, hugging you, smelling your scent, it's very interesting. Yi Qing Luo's face instantly turned black. Wasn't he being a little too honest? Suddenly, a powerful force locked onto her waist. She flung herself backward. She fell into a broad embrace. The man's domineering aura enveloped her. Yi Qing Luo raised her head and saw a face which was even darker than hers. Ah Xian. Yi Qing Luo coughed softly as she softened her tone and called out to him while her arms circled around his waist, don't be jealous, don't be jealous. You're the only one in my heart. The most important thing for us now is to retrieve the human face from Zhu Wuxian's hands. I can't take it out. Dmo Xian's face was icy cold as he spoke in a cold voice. Yi Qing Luo circled Dmo Xian's neck with one hand as she kissed him on the cheek. All right, Xian, he was trying to save me, which was why he gave others the chance to take advantage of him. You don't want me to owe him a favor, right? Dmo Xian's arms suddenly tightened, pressing her tightly against his chest. After the human face skin fuses with the human body, there is only one way. The human face skin voluntarily leaves. The man's low and hoarse voice floated from above. Voluntary. Let people's faces fall off willingly. The battle between the human face skin and Dmo Xian had already injured its mental power. Now it could stay in Zhu Wuxian's body to nourish. So how could it possibly leave willingly? Then Zhu Wuxian Yi Qing Luo really wanted to hammer Zhu Wuxian, that brat, to death. The human face skin was such a dangerous thing, and he actually didn't have any vigilance at all. Chapter 3077. Yi Qing Luo nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, as she walked a few steps towards Hell Palace's side. Yi Qing Luo wanted to turn back several times to take a look at Zhu Wuxian. But she was held back by Dmo Xian's arm, stopping her movements. Ah Xian. Yi Qing Luo's little hand hugged Dmo Xian's waist as she called out softly, that human face is really dangerous. If Zhu Wu Axian is controlled by that human face, then what should we do? It was no wonder that Dmo Xian was so angry. If it was her, seeing Dmo Xian being hugged by another woman in front of her. No matter what the reason was. She was definitely more irritable than Dmo Xian. He would even tear apart that woman who had hugged Dmo Xian. So it was natural for Dmo Xian to be jealous and angry. But this was the logic behind it. However, Chu Wuxin was trying to save her, which was why this shameless person had the opportunity to take advantage of him. If she really didn't care, she would be too cold-blooded. Being manipulated by a shameless person, then kill him. Dmo Xian spat out a sentence that was neither cold nor warm. There was even a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo's voice turned coquettish as she circled her arms around his neck. You can't say it like that. Before there is any evidence to prove that Zhu Wuxin's appearance is related to human face, if he dies, it will be because he died to save me, and I will owe him a life. Little Luo, The man's low and hoarse voice sounded a little gloomy. Yiqing Luo, who was interrupted, raised her head in a daze. She raised her head. Her chin was held by the man's slender fingers. The man's peach blossom eyes were flowing with a cold glint. The ripples were as deep as an abyss, with no end in sight. I really don't like it when you use such a tone to talk to me because of him. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. I don't like hearing his name from your mouth. His extremely possessive words made Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes tremble uncontrollably. Her eyes met his. After a long while, he slowly closed his eyes and lowered his eyelids. Yes, think from another perspective. She absolutely did not like to hear any other woman's name from Dmo Xian's mouth. Even she herself could not accept this. What right did he have to force Dmo Xian to accept it? Because I love you too much. So he cared too much. Because he cared too much. Therefore, no one else could get their hands on it. I'm sorry, Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and apologized in a low voice. Dmo Xian's hand slid away from her chin. One of his hands was still on her shoulder. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and couldn't see the man's expression. He could only hear a soft sigh of helplessness above his head. Just as the atmosphere between the two of them gradually warmed up. Zhu Wu Axian, who was standing on the original spot, gazing deeply at Yiqing Luo, suddenly opened his mouth. My hand hurts a lot. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his voice, nor did he sound like he was in pain. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly as she glanced sideways at Zhu Wu Axian. Yiqing Luo, my right palm, is extremely painful. Zhu Wu Axian was extremely serious as he repeated this sentence. Yiqing Luo's vision drooped downwards as she looked at Zhu Wu Axian's right hand, which was hanging by his side. That was the hand that was fused into the human skin's body just now. Pain, was it because the human skin had started to invade Zhu Wu Axian's body? If you don't come over and help me up, I might die from the pain. Zhu Wu Axian continued speaking expressionlessly. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened slightly. Chapter 3078. Her heart trembled. She shut her eyes fiercely as she hugged Dmo Xian's waist. Let's go back to the palace. There was no need for her to hesitate any further. As a woman who had already decided to stay for life and had a fiancé, she indeed shouldn't have given Zhu Wu Axian any hope. She couldn't do it herself to accept a lady who adored Dmo Xian by his side. She couldn't ask Dmo Xian to do it. She couldn't be that selfish. Towards Zhu Wu Axian. Right from the start, she had already expressed it very clearly. But Zhu Wu Axian continued to do things his own way, ignoring her wishes. He had to pester her endlessly. She could only say her apologies. To her. No one was more important than Xian. Yiqing Luo held Dmo Xian's arm and was about to leave. The man next to her stopped in his tracks, with no intention to leave. Yiqing Luo raised her head in puzzlement as she looked at Dmo Xian. Xian, what's the matter? Dmo Xian's slender fingers caressed her cheek. His narrow peach blossom eyes were filled with a deep glint as his thin lips curled into a smile. His eyes seemed to be filled with a pool of spring water. Silly lass. He sighed softly as his low and hoarse voice was filled with unspeakable pampering. I stopped you because I wanted to see what kind of place I occupy in your heart. Dmo Xian's voice became deeper. A faint magnetism passed through her eardrums. It numbed Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened slightly as she looked at Dmo Xian's charming eyes as she blinked. Dmo Xian's arms tightened as he hugged her petite body tightly in his arms. He rested his chin on her shoulder. Getting closer. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the man's warm breath, spraying on her skin. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled slightly. As though something was tightly clasping her heart. It made her unable to describe what feeling she was feeling. She pursed her pink lips as she was about to say something. The man's thin lips came closer as his voice became softer. Sorry. I know I'm wrong, I shouldn't have tested your feelings towards me. She could tell. There was a hint of caution in his voice that was hard to detect. That tone which was filled with guilt made the words which Yiqing Luo wanted to say stuck in her throat. Seeing that Yiqing Luo remained silent. Dmo Xian's tone became even more aggrieved, as his arms wrapped even tighter. It's my pride causing mischief, it's my imagination that ran wild, testing your heart, Lil Luo, I really know I'm in the wrong, can you forgive me? Towards Yiqing Luo's feelings towards him. It wasn't that Dmo Xian wasn't confident. It was just that Zhu Wuxin had appeared. This caused him to be extremely displeased. Because I love you too much. That was why he couldn't help but probe. Hearing Dmo Xian's slightly coquettish tone. Yiqing Luo didn't have any other thoughts in her heart at this moment. Dmo Xian was probing. It would indeed make her feel very uncomfortable. But this was also because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Other men, such as Gu Jingyu, because he knew that she had no connection with Gu Jingyu or any other man. There was no possibility of further development. But Zhu Wuxin was different. The person whom Zhu Wuxin adored was the former Yiqing Luo. After that, he saved her time and time again. It could be said that no matter if it was the promise in the past, or the current life-saving feelings, she was unable to really treat Zhu Wuxin coldly. Chapter 3079. If she put herself in his shoes. She thought that she would definitely make the same attempt. Although Zhu Wuxin was a busybody and reaped what he sowed, but after all, it was because he helped you to block the attack from the human face. Dmo Xian continued to speak. His tone was filled with disdain towards Zhu Wuxin. Dmo Xian shot a glance at Zhu Wuxin in disdain and as though declaring, he kept the young lady in his arms, if he really dies here today, I'm afraid that you will remember him for the rest of your life. Hearing the man's childish words, Yiqing Luo was speechless. But a certain softness in her heart was slowly covered by warmth. In the knowledge of love. She and Dmo Xian were both beginners. They had to take one step at a time to slowly learn the lesson of love. How could she bear to blame Dmo Xian? Between the both of them, all sorts of pink bubbles started to spread. Zhu Wuxin's chilly voice broke the atmosphere. Amen, if I can make her remember me for the rest of her life, it's not bad to die here. Yiqing Luo, what on earth was this rascal trying to do? Dmo Xian's expression sunk. His icy cold gaze looked towards Zhu Wuxin as he sneered, if you want to die, this lord can fulfill your wish, but absolutely not now. Zhu Wuxian's chilly eyes met with Dmo Xian's as his lips curled upwards. Both parties were aggressive and no one was willing to give in. Not too far away, Lei and Ah Feng were already dumbstruck as they looked at their own master in a daze. Previously they had heard Ah Feng talk about how the overlord had thrown away his high and mighty overlord status and face in front of their future mistress, turning into a loyal dog. They had always felt that Ah Feng had been bribed by their future mistress, hence he would speak up for her. But today, they had seen it with their own eyes. Then they understood, Ah Feng was absolutely not exaggerating. The overlord was in front of their future mistress. He didn't care about his face at all. Ever since they could remember, they had been following the overlord's identity for more than 10 years. This was the first time they saw the overlord being so gentle, so childish. Looked like the day when their future mistress would become the mistress of the imperial palace was not far away. Cough, Yi Qing Luo looked at the atmosphere between the both of them and coughed lightly, the both of you. How much longer do you intend to stare at me? Dmo Xian hugged Yi Qing Luo's slender waist tightly as he snorted coldly and retracted his gaze. Zhu Wuxin's eyes were cold. He slowly moved his gaze away. Then, he let out a soft snort from his nostrils. Yi Qing Luo, these two people, were really like a pair of enemies. Who knows, they might even be able to develop a romantic relationship between two lovers. This thought made Yi Qing Luo look at Dmo Xian and Zhu Wuxian. Her gaze was filled with a strange emotion. She shook her head and tossed those messy thoughts out of her head. All right. The most important thing now is to deal with the matter of the human face skin. If the human face skin remains in Chu Wuxin's body, it will ultimately be a hidden danger. She raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian. To prove my innocence, I won't check on his arm, so you go ahead. Dmo Xian shot a disdainful glance at Zhu Wuxian. I don't want. Zhu Wuxian opened his mouth coldly. Yi Qing Luo, I'm doing this to save you. You should take care of me personally. Ha! Dmo Xian gave a cold laugh as he released Yi Qing Luo's waist and walked directly towards Zhu Wuxian. Chapter 3080. It's not up to you whether you want it or not. Dmo Xian sneered. Zhu Wuxian, you'd better get it straight. Lil Luo, is this sovereign's woman? Zhu Wuxin's expression was cold. So what? She used to be mine, and she will be mine in the future. Dmo Xian's gaze turned cold. Stop your wishful thinking. A man who only knows how to pester, Lil Luo, will hate you even more. It doesn't matter if I hate her. Zhu Wuxin didn't care. As long as she's by my side, that's enough. Do you think you have that chance? Dmo Xian sneered, the murderous intent in his eyes kept surging. Yi Qing Luo, who was standing by the side, looked at the both of them. Because of checking the facial skin of the armed man, they were pushing and dodging each other. Then, both sides drew their swords, and it seemed like they were about to fight at any moment. Yi Qing Luo felt that these two men should be hard to get along with each other peacefully, right? It was better to quickly settle the matter of human face and send Zhu Wuxin away. She coughed again, interrupting the electric current between them. Zhu Wuxin, the human face skin has just entered your body. It's still possible to take it out now. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's voice, the two of them who were at loggerheads shifted their sights onto Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wuxian narrowed his cold eyes and his brows rose as he stretched out his right hand towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Take, you can. But I want you to help me. Dmo Xian's face immediately turned black. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched. He really knew how to take advantage of others. Glancing at Dmo Xian's foul expression, Yi Qing Luo naturally couldn't really go up to help Zhu Wuxian. She pursed her pink lips and shook her head solemnly. The human face mask's target is me. If I help you take out the human face mask, I'll be giving it another chance to attack me. She paused for a moment, then continued seriously. Xian is the best choice, because his power is enough to suppress human skin. Zhu Wuxian's expression turned colder. The coldness between her brows seemed to have thickened a little. His lips were tightly pursed into a straight line. Seeing the displeasure on Zhu Wuxian's face, Dmo Xian was delighted. He raised his peach blossom eyes. If you don't want to die, give me your hand. Zhu Wuxian did not move. He pursed his lips tightly, and his whole body exuded a cold aura. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she emphasized her tone. Zhu Wuxian, the reason why you were taken advantage of by that shameless person is because of me, so I can stand here and patiently advise you. But I've already done my best to advise you. If you really want to die, if you really want to be controlled by someone else's face, then it has nothing to do with me. You won't care about me anymore. He abruptly raised his head, as his cold eyes met Yiqing Luo's gaze. Yes. Yiqing Luo replied coldly. Zhu Wuxian's eyes trembled, and a piercingly cold light flowed in his eyes. There was a moment of silence. He raised his right hand and stretched it out in front of Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian gave a cold laugh as he mercilessly pulled Zhu Wuxian's wrist over. Then, the wind from his palm moved, and the gathered profound energy seeped into Zhu Wuxian's arm, searching for the movement of the human face. His actions were fast, ruthless and accurate. It totally didn't give Zhu Wuxian any time to adapt. A series of actions. Although Zhu Wuxian didn't make any sound. But from the cold sweat on his forehead, and the tightly creased brows, it was obvious that he was enduring the pain. Yiqing Luo looked at the both of them anxiously. It was until roughly 1 incense's time later, Dmo Xian released Zhu Wuxian's arm. Chapter 3081. Zhu Wuxian seemed as though he had lost all his energy as he staggered backwards with a pale face. His right arm hung loosely by the side of his body. His cold eyes lifted up slightly, coincidentally facing Yiqing Luo's figure. He looked at Yiqing Luo as he stretched out his little hand and pressed it gently on Dmo Xian's chest. That devastatingly beautiful face was filled with worry. He heard Yiqing Luo asking Dmo Xian in a low voice if he felt uncomfortable anywhere. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with Dmo Xian alone. Zhu Wuxian lowered his eyes as he fixed his gaze on his right arm. The one who was injured was obviously him, wasn't it? The one who should be cared for should be him, wasn't it? Why? Yiqing Luo's first concern was Dmo Xian. Was this the difference between love and not love? Zhu Wuxian only felt that the air seemed to have solidified. He even found it difficult to breathe. Every breath he took, his heart felt as though it was being gripped tightly, so painful that his face turned pale. Just as Zhu Wuxian felt that his heart was being torn apart, eroding him. A voice suddenly rang beside his ear. Zhu Wuxian, is your arm in pain? Why are you sweating so much? This voice was like the sound of nature as it instantly soothed the tearing pain in his heart. It was like a warm current, filling up his heart. This strange feeling made Zhu Wuxian feel extremely unfamiliar. But when he raised his eyes, his pupils reflected the young lady's devastatingly beautiful face. He totally didn't have any sense of resistance. Seeing Zhu Wuxian staring at himself, not saying a word for some time. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she got a little anxious. Zhu Wuxian, have you turned silly from the pain or something? Why aren't you saying anything? Zhu Wuxian's eyelashes moved. His cold eyes were flowing with light. He collected his eyes and slowly puffed out a gust of air from his nostrils. this gust of air was simply too soft. Yiqing Luo didn't hear it clearly as she looked at him in puzzlement. Zhu Wu Axian repeated, "My right hand is in pain. Earlier when he tugged my hand, he used a lot of force. I suspect that he wants to destroy my right hand." As he was saying that, Zhu Wu Axian's icy cold gaze looked towards Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo expressed that to use such a calm as still water tone to complain, this feeling, was really awkward. Zhu Wuxin lowered his head again and looked at his right hand that could not be moved. He said, "If you don't take care of me, my right hand might be broken by him tomorrow." Yiqing Luo, she was just about to express that it was rare for Zhu Wu Axian to say such a long speech. Then, he heard Zhu Wuxin's next sentence. Yiqing Luo face-bombed speechlessly, "Young man, isn't this your motive?" He could even complain to her with a straight face, rubbing his nose against her face. Chapter 3082. Yin Qi was extremely harmful to the human body. If it stayed in a person's body for a long period of time, Zhu Wu Axian's body would definitely be greatly affected. The human face skin in Zhu Wu Axian's body won't be able to hide for long. Dmo Xian's large palm covered Yiqing Luo's head as he gently rubbed it. His peripheral vision glanced sideways at Zhu Wu Axian as his lips tugged coldly. The nutrients that the human face skin needs can only be absorbed through the human face. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up, "I understand. The human face skin in Zhu Wu Axian's body has no way to absorb Zhu Wu Axian's nutrients. The human face skin needs nutrients to maintain its own consciousness, as well as the absorption of yin qi." Dmo Xian explained patiently, "Once the human face skin's nutrients are completely depleted, it will automatically leave Zhu Wu Axian's body. By then, the human face skin which has lost its nutrients totally has no energy to resist." Yiqing Luo hugged Dmo Xian's arm, "Then wait for the human face skin to leave Zhu Wu Axian's body on its own." "How long does it take for the human face skin's nutrients to be depleted?" Mentioning this question, Dmo Xian's face instantly turned black. After some time, he squeezed out a sentence, "Based on the human face skin's ability, at least half a month, at most 3 to 4 months." Yiqing Luo was stunned. When her vision swept past Zhu Wu Axian, she suddenly understood why Dmo Xian's face suddenly turned black. The human face skin was hiding in Zhu Wu Axian's body. They wanted to control the human face skin and find the clues behind the human face skin from it. They must wait for the human face skin to leave Zhu Wu Axian's body and take the opportunity to control it. But when the human face skin would leave Zhu Wu Axian's body was totally uncertain. This also meant that they must keep Zhu Wu Axian by their side, constantly paying attention to the human face skin hiding in Zhu Wu Axian's body, apart from being able to restrain a person's face in time when it falls off. It was also to prevent the human face skin from quietly leaving when they were not around, and then make a comeback. After all, this human face skin was not only disgusting, it was also extremely disturbing. To make Zhu Wu Axian stay by their side for half a month to a few months. No wonder Dmo Xian's expression was so ugly. This was indeed a difficult problem. Could it be? Were they really going to let Zhu Wuxin stay by their side until they lost their dignity? Based on the way Zhu Wu Axian and Dmo Xian interacted with each other, Yiqing Luo expressed, the two of them would definitely start fighting at any moment. Just as Yiqing Luo was filled with anxiety, suddenly, a beam of golden light fell from the sky from the underworld palace that was emitting a dark green light. It landed on the rock wall and cut open a huge hole. Everyone was startled, and they looked at the sudden golden light with vigilance. When Yiqing Luo's gaze met that golden light, her slender brows creased tightly. This golden light, this hole, why does he look so familiar? He had a feeling that he had seen it somewhere before. Yiqing Luo swiftly searched through her memories in her mind. just as he was about to catch something. The huge hole that was flickering with golden lights suddenly opened to both sides. Soon after, a dozen golden figures walked out from the opening. The dozen or so figures were extremely fast. It was neat and orderly. But in a blink of an eye, they were already standing neatly in front of Yi Qing Luo and the others. 10 over people were dressed in golden shiny armors, giving off a terrifying glow. Chapter 3083. Disdainful of all living beings, arrogant imposing manner, even the air froze in awe. Their appearance was like 1,000 catty boulder, pressing down one by one. Even the usually flamboyant and fearless underworld palaces people all widened their eyes in horror. "It's you." Yi Qing Luo's vision fell onto the man who was standing right in front. That man had a solemn expression, with an upright and plain-spoken expression. When he saw Yi Qing Luo, the man's eyes revealed an astonished look. Librarian of Balance. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a sweet smile. Long time no see. These 10 over people were not others. They were the Librarian of Balance who was attracted by the eruption of her profound jade heart during the battle in the West Continent. The man in the lead was the Librarian of Balance whom she had met the last time. He was also the boss of these 10 over Librarian of Balance. "You." The librarian stared at Yi Qing Luo, his vision swept across her body, and immediately fell onto the bloody Bai Mei who was lying on the ground. He frowned and spoke solemnly. "You are the one who she reported, using illegal means to sneak into the upper realm from the lower realm?" From Yi Qing Luo's body, the librarian didn't feel that she had the qualifications to be in the earth realm. But, thinking of Yi Qing Luo, that mysterious power. The librarian's expression had some changes. Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened, her long and narrow eyes also curved. "It should be. My father, it seems that among the people present, only I am from the lower realm." The 10 over librarian behind him had met Yi Qing Luo previously in the West Continent. They were also clear that their own librarian seemed to have some misgivings towards Yi Qing Luo. Hearing that the person who was reported was her, each of their faces revealed a complicated expression. According to the main god's law, as a person from the lower realm, sneaking into the upper realm has already violated the peace between the realms. Moreover, you were reported by someone from the earth realm, so I have the right to bring you back to the heavenly realm for investigation. The librarian looked at Yi Qing Luo solemnly. "Miss Yi, I believe you won't make things difficult for me." Yi Qing Luo raised her brows with a smile which didn't look like a smile. "Of course, this is your duty." Many thanks to Yi Qing Luo for seeing the big picture. Librarian saw that Yi Qing Luo wasn't as eloquent as the previous time, which made him unable to rebuke her, and even cooperated with her, so he heaved a sigh of relief. If possible, he really didn't want to meet Yi Qing Luo again. The librarian didn't want to complicate matters further, so he immediately picked up the shackles and walked towards Yi Qing Luo. But before the historian could even get close to Yi Qing Luo, a majestic and terrifying dark force rose from the ground. Transforming into bursts of profound waves, it laid horizontally in front of Yi Qing Luo, blocking the historical administrator's footsteps. The scribe stopped in his tracks and looked in the direction where the profound energy had come from with a dark expression. "It's been a long time since we last met. Are the scribes of the heavenly lower realm capable of taking away my people right under my nose?" His low, husky, magnetic voice was extremely intimidating. Dmo Xian's sleeves fluttered and the profound energy that was stirring up on the ground turned into a hurricane as it struck out. The historian was forced to take a few steps back. When the scribe heard the voice, his face was filled with shock. He looked in the direction of the voice. In his pupils, a tall figure was reflected. The purple robe fluttered, as though it had opened up a pair of wings, overflowing with splendor and glaring. When the historian's vision fell onto that person's face, his entire person was stunned on the spot. Chapter 3084. The historiographer's heart thumped hard. Since the last time in the West Continent. The historiographer knew that this lady named Yi-Ching Luo had some kind of relationship with that mysterious and respectable overlord. Perhaps she was just a pet that the overlord used to pass the time. But the historiographer had never thought of this. The Lord Dizun, who could make the realm lord of the heavenly lower realm, retreat when the name of Dizun was mentioned, he actually fell in love with a lady from the lower realm. If it wasn't for the fact that he had personally witnessed the overlord holding Yi-Ching Luo in his arms with a tender and loving look. The historiographer and the other historians would absolutely not believe it. Although Yi-Ching Luo was indeed devastatingly beautiful as a flower. But she was after all a lady from the lower realm. The overlord's status was respectable. How could a lady from the lower realm be worthy of him? The expressions of the historiographer and the other historians were extremely complicated and unpredictable. My little Luo is kind-hearted and doesn't want to make things difficult for you. Dmo Xian's low voice rang again, but I don't care if you make things difficult for me. His voice was as calm as water, extremely calm. But when the historiographer and the other historians heard it, they suddenly felt a chill from the soles of their feet to their heads. The historiographer's expression was extremely ugly. I am only following orders. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled frivolously, following orders. If the historiographer is really such a person who values orders and missions, then you wouldn't easily let go of someone who should be arrested, isn't it? His voice revealed a trace of ridicule and ridicule. The historiographer broke out in cold sweat. Dmo Xian's words had a hidden meaning. The historiographer heard it clearly. It looked like, the last time when he was about to capture the Dark Forces people, the news of them being abducted halfway when they were heading to the heavenly realm, the overlord already knew about it. The historiographer tried his best to restrain the panic in his heart and tried his best to remain calm. Since the overlord has spoken personally, I guess this matter is just a misunderstanding. He waved his hand and led his men to retreat towards the golden opening. Retreat. When the court officials saw Dmo Xian, they knew that their mission would not be completed today. Immediately, they retreated behind the scribe in an orderly manner. Wait. The young girl's clear voice was clear and pleasant to listen to. The dozen or so scribes immediately stopped in their tracks. The young lady leaned into Dmo Xian's arms as she lazily raised her slender brows and smiled lazily. It's rare for me to meet Mr. Librarian. Why is Mr. Librarian in such a hurry to leave? The prefect's back stiffened and cold sweat oozed from his forehead. He turned around stiffly and said, Miss Yi, we still have other tasks and it's not convenient for us to stay any longer. Isn't the keeper of scribes on a mission? Yi-Ching Luo tilted her head in puzzlement and smiled innocently. After all, I'm indeed not from the Earth domain and was reported by someone. Why didn't you investigate clearly and just let me go? This is a misunderstanding. The scribe's brain spun rapidly as he tried to think of a way to explain. We received a report and rushed here because we were worried that someone would use illegal means to sneak into the land. This would affect the balance between the land and the mortal world. But Miss Yi is the lover of His Majesty, so she definitely did not use illegal means. Chapter 3085. Right. How would they dare to say anything wrong? Yi-Ching Luo smiled. This smile, as compared to the previous languid smile, was a little more strange. It was obviously a beautiful smile. However, the historiographer only felt a creepy feeling spread in his heart. As expected. Yi-Ching Luo smiled lightly and said, Since the matter between me and the heavenly Tao realm has been settled, then now. It's time for the matter between you and me to settle it properly. The historian's expression congealed. Miss Yi, what matter do you want to settle with me? Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled up as she smiled sweetly. Without beating around the bush, she stared at the historian's eyes and spat out 4 words, dark, force. Indeed, the historian's face sunk slightly. He shifted his gaze and frowned. This matter. Heaven realm has already formulated a corresponding decision, miss, ye need not ask any further. Did you not hear me clearly, keeper of the annals? Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened. What I said is, the matter between me and you has nothing to do with heaven realm. The historian's expression congealed. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. Initially, I trusted librarian overseer and wasn't willing to make things difficult for you, so I handed over the dark forces, that bunch of motley crew, as well as Yuhan, to you. But, how did librarian overseer betray my trust towards you? Her tone was very calm, and there was a hint of a sweet smile on her face. A pair of smiling eyes stared deeply at him. But the more Yi Qing Luo behaved in this manner, the more the historian felt, the more apprehensive he was. He was unwilling to admit that he was scared by a 15-year-old young lady. But the truth was so. His fingers tightened as he spoke with a steely expression. This matter is my responsibility, but I didn't intentionally let them go. Yi Qing Luo kept her smile as she squinted her eyes. Her face exuded some coldness. Explain clearly what happened that day. That bunch of people from the dark forces and Yuhan, other than the wolf saint technique, should have been brought to the heaven realm by the historian and imprisoned in the heaven prison. But the people from the dark forces, not only were they not imprisoned. Instead, they joined the secluded palace. They stirred up all sorts of trouble. In addition, Yuhan was also jumping around. Even if the historian of balance didn't come looking for her, she wanted to ask the balance historian what was going on. The historiographer's expression was very ugly. The events of that day. It could be said that this was the most embarrassing moment in his history as the balance palm. If it wasn't for the fact that the Heaven Tao Realm Master didn't care about this matter, he might not be able to sit still in his position as the historiographer. The scribe frowned and wanted to avoid this topic. But when he felt Dmo Xian's chilly gaze, like a sharp blade, cutting into his body. In the end, he couldn't withstand the pressure and told them what had happened that day. Mysterious power. After hearing what the librarian said, Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she muttered these 4 words. She raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian. Xian, these things, based on your strength, can you do it? The heavenly Tao rope was inexplicably severed. An invisible force formed a barrier that prevented the scribe and the other scribes from chasing after the dark forces and Yuhan. To be able to do this under the situation of not showing their faces. It could be seen how powerful the person behind this was. Chapter 3086. That means to say, the person who kidnapped the dark forces has the same ability as you. Yi Qing Luo's tone was solemn. In this world, there shouldn't be many people who have the same ability as you. The historian of balance could travel between the various planes and maintain the balance of each plane. It was enough to prove that the historian of balance's ability was absolutely not weak. However, that invisible power was able to easily stop the historian of balance. To be able to snatch someone from the hands of hundreds of historian of balance, without harming a single soldier, making the historian of balance could only watch helplessly, unable to do anything to resist. His ability was absolutely on par with Dmo Xian. At least, he was in existence around Dmo Xian's level. I am also one of them. Being left aside, Zhu Wu Axian, who had no sense of existence for a long time, frowned as he spoke in a cold voice. His icy cold eyes fixed on Yi Qing Luo. My ability is not any worse than him, and I can totally snatch you from his hands. Yi Qing Luo. Her slender brows creased tightly as she stared at Zhu Wu Axian in a bad mood. Let's talk about serious matters, don't mess things up. Saying that, her vision returned back to Dmo Xian. Xian, think about it, is there anyone whose ability is similar to yours? There's always someone better out there. There are many people who are stronger than me. Dmo Xian shook his head, but currently, in my memory, I have not met such a person. Yi Qing Luo. Did he need to be so confident? Just how powerful was her man? Roaming around various planes, yet he had not met anyone who had the same ability as him. No wonder. The overlord who made the upper realm tremble in fear. Awesome. Librarian took the opportunity to ask, the matter has been explained clearly, Can we go back to report? Of course. Yi Qing Luo smiled sweetly as she nodded. Librarian was still hesitant, afraid that Yi Qing Luo would play some tricks. More than a dozen people carefully moved towards the golden opening. But they heard a young lady's voice coming from behind, that's right. Librarian's heart suddenly tightened. Why is Librarian so nervous? I'm just reminding Librarian, in case in future, heavenly realm will bear the infamy. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly, her voice was gentle, as though it didn't have any lethality. The librarian turned around and forced a smile. Please enlighten me, Miss Yi. Looking at the treasurer who was obviously filled with melancholy but still forced a smile, Yi Qing Luo's smile grew wider. The feeling of bullying others with force was not bad at all. The heavenly law realm exists to maintain the balance between the major realms. You also exist to maintain the balance between the major realms. After Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth, her tone turned solemn. I believe that all of you are aware of the recent changes in the Nirvana realm. If someone really wants to use the Nirvana realm to destroy the balance of the various realms, after all the plans are implemented, even if all the historians of the heavenly law realm are mobilized, I'm afraid it will be useless. The historiographer's bitter expression froze and his eyes turned solemn. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, that's all I have to say, the rest is up to you. The librarian's expression was complicated. His lips moved, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He just cupped his fists. Librarian Lord, don't be in such a hurry to leave. Suddenly, another spiritual body floated over. Chapter 3087. Bye. The historiographer's lips trembled and his eyes widened as if he wanted to say something. Baisu's spiritual body floated and interrupted him. Historiographer, are you forgetting something? The historiographer's words were stuck in his throat. However, his eyes were fixed on Baisu without blinking. Then, he stammered, forgetting what? Baisu smiled. Are you pretending not to notice the will-o-wisp candles around here? Such insidious things appearing in the underworld palace, and there are at least 1,000 of them. Isn't this a violation of the balance of the land? The historiographer's expression changed. Naturally, they had sensed the waves of yin qi coming from all directions. However, the historiographer hesitated for a moment and said cautiously, the will-o-wisp candles are indeed insidious, but it is also true that they belong to the land. This is not within our scope of responsibility. Baisu raised her eyebrows and crossed her arms in front of her chest. There was a layer of coldness on her beautiful face. It's not within your scope of responsibility, and you don't care. This. The historiographer felt a headache coming on. Why was he so unlucky today? When he received a report from the land, he thought it was just someone from the lower bound who used some forbidden means to come to the land in pursuit of power. It was just a small matter. Unexpectedly, they were all people he could not afford to offend. And each one was more difficult to deal with than the other. In the face of Baisu's aggressiveness, the historiographer was full of anxiety. After a long while, he forced himself to say, This is indeed not within our scope of responsibility. Even if we want to do something, we can't. After saying this, the historiographer stared at Baisu's expression and immediately said, however, when I return to the heavenly law realm, I will definitely report this matter to the realm lord, and then the realm lord will report it to the upper bound. That was what Baisu had been waiting for. She stretched out her transparent hand and slowly patted the historiographer's shoulder. The hand of a spiritual body could not touch a physical body. However, the historiographer felt a huge pressure. It was as if a 1,000-kilogram boulder was pressing heavily on his shoulder. In that case, I'll have to trouble Lord Keeper of the Historiography to report this matter to the upper realms. Baisu's voice was light, as if she was having a casual chat. The librarian felt a chill down his spine. He nodded vigorously, yes, of course, of course. Baisu moved her hand away with a smile. Miss Bai, is there anything else? The scribe looked at Baisu's expression and asked tentatively. Baisu continued to smile, yes. The librarian, he was so tired that he didn't want to resist anymore. Baisu glanced at Bai Mei, who was lying on the ground with a badly mutilated face. Bai Mei made a false report to the heavenly realm because of her personal grudges, slandering Yi Qing Luo for using extraordinary means to sneak into the earth realm and obstructing the normal order of the court officials. Shouldn't the court official handle this matter? The scribe followed Baisu's line of sight. When he saw Bai Mei's terrifying face, he frowned. Chapter 3088. The scribe was speechless. If he hadn't seen Baisu's domineering side just now, the scribe might have been deceived by Baisu. But now, hearing Baisu's words, the scribe knew Baisu's purpose clearly. He coughed softly and gave the two scribes behind him a look. The scribe understood and immediately stepped forward. He lifted Bai Mei up from the ground from both sides. Bai Mei, who had been mourning for her face, suddenly struggled. Sister, you can't do this to me. I've lost my face, and you still want to lock me up in the realm of heavenly law. How can you be so cruel? Bai Mei cried. Baisu cried even more helplessly than her. I don't want to do this, but I don't have time to accompany you, and I can't discipline you, so I let you do such a thing. Your body, hair, and skin belong to your parents. But you actually used this kind of method to change your face. Not only that, but you also absorbed yin qi, hurt others, and destroyed yourself. However, Bai Mei didn't listen to Baisu at all, and the words she said became even more unpleasant. Her face was forcibly torn off from her face. As she spoke, the blood on her face kept rolling down. Baisu turned her head, as if she couldn't bear to see Bai Mei like this. She sobbed and said, Now, in order to frame His Majesty's lover, you even made a false report. If not for His Majesty's kindness, if not, the consequences would not be as simple as being locked up. I'm trying to save you. Speaking of this, she was already choking with sobs. Mr. Scribe, I'll leave my sister to you. You don't have to respect me or His Majesty. As long as you can teach her what to do and what not to do. You can do whatever you want. Baisu took a deep breath and waved her hand. I hope Mr. Scribe can take good care of my poor sister. When her transformation is successful, I'll personally go to thank you and take her home. Bai Mei's screams and insults became even more unpleasant. Her face was covered with blood, and her white dress was dyed red. The scribe was also worried that if she stayed any longer, she would be involved in a series of things. Immediately, he called out to the scribe and carried Bai Mei to the direction of the golden entrance. Fortunately, this time, no one stopped him. After the scribe disappeared through the golden opening with the other scribes, the golden light that illuminated the underworld palace also gradually dissipated. The interior of the underworld palace was once again enveloped by a dark green light. The gloomy and eerie atmosphere had returned. All right, everyone has left and the matter should be settled. Let's disperse. Baisu drifted over leisurely, her slightly transparent spirit body wrapped tightly around Yi Qing Luo. Baisu's beautiful eyes sized up Yi Qing Luo without blinking. He seemed to be examining something. Yi Qing Luo wasn't used to this feeling and took a few steps back unnaturally. didn't you scram? Why did you come back? Dmo Xian pulled Yiqing Luo into his arms, blocking Bai Su's sight. Bai Su floated backward and shrugged, my poor sister is still here. If you kill her in a fit of anger, I will lose my poor sister, won't I? Yiqing Luo popped her head out from Dmo Xian's embrace. Chapter 3089. But Bai Su's words were indeed true. If she hadn't returned, even if Dmo Xian didn't kill Bai Mei, those people from Hell Palace would not let Bai Mei off. After all, Bai Mei's human face was obviously in cahoots with Ghost Fire Candle. Then Bai Mei would be in cahoots with Dark Palace, who made use of Hell Palace. All along, they were the ones who made use of others and hurt others. Now they had been schemed against. Everyone from Hell Palace was suppressing a raging fire in their hearts. If it wasn't for the fact that Dmo Xian and Bai Su were around, they might not be able to hold it in and vent their anger on Bai Mei. Dmo Xian squinted his long peach blossom eyes and didn't bother about Bai Su as he looked at the person in his arms. How do you want to settle the people from Hell Palace? It could be said that with Dmo Xian around, even if Yiqing Luo killed the people from Hell Palace in the Earth Realm, the balance historian wouldn't come looking for trouble. Presumably, that historian didn't want to meet Yiqing Luo anymore. Yiqing Luo wrapped one arm around his waist as she pondered for a moment, temporarily. Don't kill them. The people from Hell Palace have been made use of by Dark Palace. In terms of revenge, Xia Ba and Leng Yan, these two proud and arrogant people, had been crippled. They had become useless people who needed people to serve them even when they were eating, drinking, and defecating. To them, this was the most severe punishment. As for the others, since Dark Palace liked to play such tricks, she might as well retaliate. Like Hell Palace, a place where the united and fearless lunatics gathered. Just like Dark Palace, they were perverts who liked to cultivate those sinister forbidden cultivation methods. After finding out that Dark Palace had schemed against them, they wanted to use their power to nurture Yin Qi and human face. How could they possibly let Dark Palace off? Dark Palace wanted to make use of Hell Palace to deal with her and Dmo Xian. Then, they could also make use of Hell Palace to deal with Dark Palace. Apparently, Dmo Xian had the same thought as her. The two of them smiled at each other as their brows were filled with warmth and sweetness. Cough. Cough, cough. A hurried cough was heard. The two of them immediately looked over. Zhu Wuaxian's face was cold as he raised his right hand. My hand hurts. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly as he squinted his peach blossom eyes in displeasure. Now you know pain. Yiqing Luo squinted at him. You deserve to die from the pain. If it wasn't for the fact that he refused to let go of her, how could a human face have the chance to hide in his body? Why did he cause so much trouble? Now, in order to force Chu Wuxin out of his skin, who knew how long he had to keep Chu Wuxin by their side? Not to mention that between Chu Wuxin and Dmo Xian, there was a possibility that a fight could break out any time. Let's talk about what happened in the Nirvana realm. About the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Regarding the corpse puppets. The matter of gathering sacred beast pearls. She simply did not have any extra time to take care of Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's face became even darker and colder. You think that I shouldn't be in pain? Can you stop messing around? Towards Zhu Wuaxian's train of thought, Yiqing Luo was rather helpless. Given Zhu Wuxin's character, she couldn't tell him directly that she wasn't the person who had made a promise to him when they were young. Zhu Wuxin was the kind of person who would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. If he knew that she had taken over the original Yiqing Luo's body, then there was a high possibility that they would become enemies. Becoming enemies with Zhu Wuxin was absolutely a headache. Zhu Wuxin's eyes were sinister and his deep cold eyes were deep and gloomy. Chapter 3090. Zhu Wuxian's action made Yiqing Luo turn pale with fright. Just as that palm was about to strike Zhu Wuxian's right hand, suddenly, a ray of purple light flashed past. It set off a profound wave in the air, blocking Zhu Wuxian's palm. Dmo Xian retracted his hand as his brows were filled with impatience. If you want to die, then die further away. Don't dirty Lil Luo's eyes. Zhu Wuxian's left hand was immobilized by a ray of purple light. His face still bore an indifferent expression. Yiqing Luo frowned as she strode towards him. Zhu Wuxian, do you know what you're doing? Seeing her getting closer, Zhu Wuxian raised his head slightly. His thin lips curled up as he revealed an undetectable smile. On that cold face, the contours of his contours became gentler. His cold and deep eyes gazed deeply at her, as though he wanted to see her into his eyes, into the depths of his heart. That feeling made Yiqing Luo not feel used to it. You feel that it's wrong for the human face skin to merge into my body. I want to chop off my right hand, in this way. The human face skin will no longer be in my body. His thin lips moved slightly as his voice was extremely icy cold. But if one listened carefully, she could still tell the lightness and smiling intent in his tone. Yiqing Luo, this was probably a self-masochistic pervert. Why did she feel that? Was Zhu Wuxian using another method to flirt with her? She didn't like it and felt that it was wrong. So he wanted to chop off his own right hand so that she would like it, so that she wouldn't be angry. What kind of flirting technique was this? Who told him? She totally didn't feel touched all right. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she no longer had the energy to ridicule him. Towards Zhu Wuxian, she couldn't see through what he was thinking. Her slender brows creased as she stared at Zhu Wuxian with a solemn expression as she said word by word, the human face skin is already in your body. This is an indisputable fact. What we need to do now is to wait for the human face skin to lose its nutrients and escape from your body before subduing it. I'm very serious and solemn, reminding you that it's not because you chop off your own hand that I will feel guilty and accept you. It's not that I'll pity you, sympathize with you, and accept you because you've made yourself miserable, and pitiful. Yiqing Luo's words were heavy. It was also blatantly shattering Zhu Wuxin's feelings for her. Seeing Zhu Wuxin's face turn pale, the light in his eyes dimmed. Yiqing Luo shifted her gaze away, not regretting what she had said. She gave Zhu Wuxin hope and then watched as Zhu Wuxin kept pestering her. This was truly cruel to Zhu Wuxin. If you don't love, don't give me hope. Also, don't be ambiguous. After a long while, Yiqing Luo saw that Zhu Wuxian didn't open his mouth for a long time, so she announced her decision. The human face skin is in your body, so before it leaves your body, you will stay by Xian and my side. Zhu Wuxin raised his head. His jet black hair was scattered messily on his face. A faint smile appeared on his grave and stern face. All right, he replied. Yiqing Luo met with Zhu Wuxian's deep gaze, and that gaze contained some gentleness. She frowned, and in case Zhu Wuxian misunderstood anything, she explained, the human face skin's yin qi is very heavy. If you're controlled by the human face skin, at least Xian is able to suppress it, so we let you follow us. Zhu Wuxian swiftly responded. Chapter 3091. Why did it feel like Zhu Wuxin really wanted to stay by their side? However, since Zhu Wuxin was so cooperative, the rest could be ignored. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath as she looked at Zhu Wuxian. Then your death god castle, as well as other matters, leave it to your trusted people to handle. You will return with us. She paused. Just as she was about to say the word Imperial Palace, she stopped herself. No, Chu Wuxin and Dmo Xian were obviously not on friendly terms. It was not that she did not believe in Zhu Wuxin. But, it was related to the Imperial Palace, it was related to Dmo Xian. If Zhu Wuxin entered the Arch Palace, he would know the correct location of the Arch Palace. Anything that would damage the Imperial Palace. She could not forgive Zhu Wuxin, nor could she forgive herself. She pursed her lips and was about to say, Three Springs Sect. Her delicate body was caught by a force, and her body was pulled into a warm embrace. When we arrive at the Arch Palace, just arrange a room for us. Dmo Xian cast a cold glance at Zhu Wuxian. The Imperial Palace's spiritual qi is able to suppress the yin energy in the human face, reducing the chances of you being controlled. Zhu Wuxin raised his eyebrows. His cold face was devoid of any emotion as he indifferently spat out a word, "Oh." Following that, he shifted his gaze onto Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo frowned as she didn't want to continue tangling with Zhu Wuxian. She had said a few more words to Zhu Wuxin just now. She was so close to Di Zun that she was already jealous. Let's return to Nirvana realm. Yiqing Luo wrapped her arms around Dmo Xian's waist as she spoke. Dmo Xian embraced her and both of them returned to the carriage. Zhu Wuxian's gaze was deeply fixated on Yiqing Luo's back, and it was until the veil blocked her figure before he lifted his foot and walked over. Before he even got close to the carriage. "Ah, Lei and you were already standing in front of the sedan. Young Master Zhu, if you are exhausted, I can lend you my battle pet." Zhu Wuxin's gaze landed on the carriage. "That's the exclusive seat of the Overlord and Madam." Lei deliberately emphasized the words Madam. Zhu Wuxin's brows furrowed indiscernibly. After pondering for a long time, he closed his eyes. Immediately after, a green light flashed, and a deafening howl resounded. In front of him was a giant green wolf with fur that was as sharp as blades. His sharp fangs shone with a cold light under the dark green light. Zhu Wuxian leaped onto the back of the green wolf. Lei and you looked at Green Wolf's expression with a hint of surprise. But soon, he put away the expression on his face and stood by the side of the carriage. Little Nine's tail moved. Dragging the carriage, it slowly floated in the air. Lord Di Zun, Lady Di, when the people from the Underworld Palace saw that they were planning to leave, they immediately grew anxious. Old Lai held his wound and staggered forward. "Lord Overlord, Madam Emperor, these ghost fires, what should we do with the ghost fire candles?" The rest of the people from the Underworld Palace also rushed forward. "Lord Overlord, Madam Emperor, although the Underworld Palace has never been principled, we have our own rules. This time in the Nirvana realm, we, the Infernal Palace, are responsible for hurting the Lady D. Since the Lady D didn't pursue this matter, the Infernal Palace owes you a favor. If there's anything that you need the Infernal Palace's help with, the Infernal Palace will definitely go through water and tread on fire." Ghost fire candles. Whoever taught you how to make them, find that person to help you settle these ghost fire candles. Yiqing Luo lifted the veil as she spoke in a calm tone. Chapter 3092. The faces of the people from the Underworld Palace turned solemn. After exchanging glances, they seemed to have understood the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words. A trace of viciousness flashed across Old Lai's eyes. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "We will definitely look for the Palace of Darkness and demand an answer. I only hope that when the time comes, you can still maintain your current thoughts." Yiqing Luo's charming eyes swept past the crowd from Underworld Palace calmly. That bunch of people from secluded Darkness Palace, not only are their methods outstanding, their control over people's hearts is also outstanding. In other words, if they came looking for them, the gloomy palace would naturally think of a way to appease them. The faces of the Underworld Palace's people were filled with anger, the human heart. We don't have a so-called heart. We were tricked by gloomy palace once, but we will not be tricked a second time. Yi Qing Luo smiled, I hope so. Regardless of whether Miss Yi accepts it or not, according to the rules of the Hell Palace owes you a favor. In the future, if Miss Yi comes to the Earth domain and has any needs, the Underworld Palace will definitely do its best. The people of Underworld Palace insisted on their own rules. Of course, the reason why they chose to adhere to the rules of the Underworld Palace was not only because they had to abide by the rules that they themselves had set. Instead, the power behind Yi Qing Luo. Everyone could see that. Although Yi Qing Luo was just a lady from the lower realm. But the people around Yi Qing Luo, each of their statuses was more impressive than the other. Even the historian of balance from the heavenly lower realm did not want to provoke her. No matter how unafraid they were of death, they weren't willing to become enemies with Yi Qing Luo. Most importantly, they had a common enemy, Abyss Palace. Yi Qing Luo and the rest left the Hell Palace. The carriage floated in the sky, followed by a huge green wolf. Through the veil, Yi Qing Luo could clearly feel Zhu Wuxian's burning gaze. Yi Qing Luo wanted to open her mouth several times to make Zhu Wuxian shift his gaze away. She was also worried that if she said it out loud, her boyfriend's vinegar jar would overturn again. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she leaned her petite body further into Dmo Xian's arms. Dmo Xian's long arm gently embraced her as he lowered his eyes to look at the person in his embrace. His deep inky eyes shot a cold glance at the person who was following behind him. A dark glint flashed across his eyes. Following that, he lowered his head and gently kissed Yi Qing Luo's hair. Lil Luo, rest for a while. We'll reach the Imperial Palace very soon. Ha! Yi Qing Luo didn't quite understand the meaning behind Dmo Xian's words. Just as he was about to raise his head. But when he moved, she could smell the elegant sandalwood scent on the man's body. Bit by bit, it surrounded her body. The smell of sandalwood was extremely elegant and intoxicating. Just as his body and mind relaxed, her eyelids became heavier and heavier. After that, he fell into a deep slumber. Dmo Xian lowered his eyes as he listened to the girl's gentle breathing. He gently moved the girl's body into a comfortable position in his arms. Then, he raised a hand, and his sleeve fluttered. In the blink of an eye, he took off his purple robe and wrapped it around the young girl's body. How much longer are you going to watch? Dmo Xian hugged Yi Qing Lu tightly as he spoke in a cold voice. Outside the carriage, it was silent. Dmo Xian's eyes turned cold as his voice turned even colder. No matter how you watch, Lil Luo, will not be yours. Your actions will only make Lil Luo, feel troubled. Perhaps it was because of the mention of Yi Qing Luo. Outside the carriage, a huge shadow immediately shrouded over. Chapter 3093. Zhu Wuxian was lying on the back of the green wolf. The huge green wolf's thick fur wrapped around his body, revealing only his grave and stern face. Zhu Wuxian looked coldly at the two people in the carriage who were tightly hugging each other. His black eyes shone with a deep light. If it bothers you, give her back to me. His voice was calm and cold. As long as she's mine, she won't be troubled. Zhu Wuxian's words made Dmo Xian's brows creased even tighter. Zhu Wuxian, Lil Luo, was never yours. What do you mean by returning it to you? What do you think little Luo, is? Treat her as my woman, Zhu Wuxian said with a sinister expression. Zhu Wuxian. Dmo Xian's eyes were deep and serene as he spat out these three words in an icy cold tone. All of a sudden, flames erupted from his body. Even the four maids and two protectors outside the carriage couldn't help but shiver. Zhu Wuxian's thin lips curled up. There was not the slightest hint of a smile on his face. Instead, there was a hint of disdain and mockery. Trying to persuade me to give up Yiqing Luo? Are you trying to persuade me to fulfill your love? His black eyes narrowed, and coldness spread from his pupils. There was also a hint of mockery in his tone. What a pity. I, Zhu Wuxin, have never been a gentleman, and I don't have the thought of helping others achieve their dreams. His voice turned gloomier and gloomier, as though it was wrapped in frost. Yiqing Luo is mine, the future will only be mine. If I can't get her, I'd rather destroy her than to fulfill your wishes. The expression on Dmo Xian's face turned increasingly ruthless and gloomy. The might released from Xiao Chen's body caused the surrounding curtains to flutter wildly. The four maids were so nervous that they didn't dare to move. Ah Yu glanced at Zhu Wuxian and cursed him 100 times in her heart. This Zhu Wuxin was seriously too ignorant of what was good for him. He dared to snatch Di Zun's woman, and he even dared to be so arrogant. If the overlord was angry, he could tear him apart with his bare hands. Even Ah Yu and Ale, the two guardians, were somewhat unable to withstand the powerful pressure. They turned their pleading gazes towards the mistress of the imperial palace who was sleeping soundly in Dmo Xian's arms. Di Zun was furious. Only the mistress could pacify him. However, no matter how arrogant the Di Zun was, and how majestic his aura was, Yiqing Luo wasn't affected at all. Her lips still hung a faint smile as her hands wrapped around Dmo Xian's waist. Obviously, she was having a sweet dream about Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had already tried his best to suppress his urge to kill Zhu Wuxian. He understood Yiqing Luo. He knew his woman. To Yiqing Luo. She thought that she had taken over the original identity of Yiqing Luo. Because of her existence, she had gone against the original Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian's promise when they were young. She more or less felt a little guilty towards Zhu Wuxin. In particular, Zhu Wuxin had saved her several times because of the promise he made when they were young. Yiqing Luo was very grateful towards Zhu Wuxian. If he really killed Zhu Wuxin, there would definitely be a barrier between him and Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian's eyelids drooped as he gazed deeply at the person in his arms. Soon after, he forcefully shut his eyes as he restrained the vicious aura around him. Zhu Wuxian didn't have the mood to tangle with Dmo Xian any further. For a moment, they were both speechless. This strange atmosphere. It made the two guardians shiver uncontrollably. The two of them were in a stalemate. They were afraid. The two of them remained silent. They also felt their hair standing on end. They were very suspicious. Letting Zhu Wuxian stay in the imperial palace. Chapter 3094. Imperial Palace. Yiqing Luo woke up when Dmo Xian carried her back to her princess-like room. The minute she opened her eyes, she saw the entire room in pink. Yiqing Luo went into a daze for a moment. After some time, her vision was fixed on Dmo Xian's face. "We're back." She was still thinking of seeing how Dmo Xian brought her through the realm door. How could she be so disappointing, falling asleep in the carriage? It seemed, on the way to the Hell's Palace, she felt dizzy for a moment and then they reached the Hell's Palace. Thinking of the sandalwood scent she smelled before she fell asleep. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as her eyes suddenly widened and her little hand grabbed Dmo Xian's collar. "Tell me honestly, did you intentionally make me fall asleep?" Dmo Xian's slender long hand caressed her lips as he gave a low and hoarse smile. "Isn't it because you wanted to stay in my arms, so you fell asleep?" Yiqing Luo opened her mouth and bit his finger as she stared at him resentfully. "Don't think that by teasing me, you can change the topic. Tell me honestly, you made me fall asleep. What unspeakable things are you planning to do behind my back?" "Do what? What do you think?" His low and hoarse voice was filled with magnetism. His finger intentionally teased between her teeth. His gaze was filled with infatuation. It was an obvious indication of some kind of feelings. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red. She bit hard on his finger and immediately let go. Don't use this method to change the topic, I don't fall for it. Pretty boy trick or something. Use it a few more times. She would also develop antibodies all right. Dmo Xian laughed lightly as he bent down and planted a kiss on her lips. All right, I admit that I'm the reason why you fell asleep. His forehead was placed on hers. The distance between the two of them was very close. Why? Yiqing Luo asked. Dmo Xian caressed her face gently. I don't want you to see me finding trouble with Zhu Wuaxian. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she abruptly sat upright, pulling the distance between the two of them apart. You and Zhu Wuaxian fought? The minute she fell asleep, the two of them started fighting. Indeed, letting Zhu Wuxin stay in the imperial palace was a wrong choice. I don't have the habit of taking advantage of others. Dmo Xian pinched her nose. Yiqing Luo's hands held onto his mischievous large palm. Where did you arrange for Zhu Wuaxian to stay? Guest room. The human face hiding in Zhu Wuxin's right arm was a hidden danger. No matter how much he disliked Zhu Wuxin, Dmo Xian would not arrange for Zhu Wuaxian to be too far away from him. He held on to her hand as his body leaned downwards. A rich male hormonal scent enveloped Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's back fell onto the soft big bed. She raised her eyes and met the man's deep peach blossom eyes. The flowing light was overflowing with a myriad of splendor. Yiqing Luo, who had already said that she had developed an immunity to the seduction, was once again mesmerized by the man's magnificent looks. I don't like the sound of his name coming from you. Dmo Xian lowered his head and captured her lips. This kiss was extremely forceful. Yiqing Luo didn't even have time to struggle before she was completely drowned by the man's scent. Until a rhythmic knocking sound was heard outside the door, interrupting the warmth and sweetness in the room. Dmo Xian's expression was extremely ugly, with an unsatisfied expression. Yiqing Luo pushed him away as she speedily tidied up her clothes and coughed lightly. What's the matter? Madam. Chapter 3095. Beiyuan. Yiqing Luo immediately pushed away the man who wanted to hug her and slid down from the pink princess bed. Tang Beiyuan was under Dmo Xian's orders to personally send Gu Jingyu back to Wind Valley sect. I have something urgent to report. Could it be, what happened? Although she could not respond to Gu Jingyu's feelings. But for her, Gu Jingyu was also her friend. Yiqing Luo opened the door and walked out. What happened? Tang Beiyuan cupped her fists towards Yiqing Luo. Mistress, something has happened in South Water Continent. Something happened. Yiqing Luo frowned. What happened? Tang Beiyuan was just about to speak when she saw Dmo Xian walking out of the house with a gloomy face. Her vision swiftly swept past Yiqing Luo's lips. He took another look at Dmo Xian's expression. As someone with a fiancé, she naturally knew what had happened in the room earlier. Tang Beiyuan lowered her head in silence. Yiqing Luo turned her head back and took a look at the gloomy man behind her. She stretched out her hand and held his large palm. Dmo Xian's expression then eased up a little as he glanced at Tang Beiyuan. Speak. When I brought young sect Master Gu to the Wind Valley sect, I discovered that South Wave Continent has already. Tang Beiyuan's expression was grave. It has already been plunged into misery and suffering. It is said that the monarch of South Wave Continent has already fled. The people will be plunged into misery and suffering. Yiqing Luo was stunned. South Wave's continent is one of the more developed continents among the 4 continents. Why would they suddenly start a war? Which continent attacked the South Wave's continent? No. Tang Beiyuan shook her head. The Wind Valley sect master said it happened half a month ago. It was a group of monsters. It said that no matter what we do, we won't be able to kill them. They're impervious to swords and spears, fearless of fire and water. We can only watch as they slaughter one city after another. Unkillable. Corpse puppet. The first thing that popped up in Yiqing Luo's mind was the appearance of the corpse puppet. Apart from the Dark Palace's corpse puppets, Yiqing Luo couldn't think of any other unkillable monster. Tang Beiyuan had never seen a corpse puppet before, so she wasn't sure what Yiqing Luo was talking about. She paused for a moment, then continued, "When I left, South Wave's continent had already been occupied by Dark Nether Palace. Now, only Wind Valley sect is still defending South Wave's continent, but I'm afraid they won't be able to hold on for long. It really is a corpse puppet." Yiqing Luo clenched her teeth. The Palace of Seclusion found someone to replace Yuan so quickly. After Yuan died, the process of refining corpse puppets should have been interrupted because of this. How could he adjust in such a short time? He could even bring his undead corpse puppets and invade the South Wave's continent. Could it be that, right from the start, the Palace of Darkness had already prepared a backup plan? Yiqing Luo looked at Dmo Xian as she asked in puzzlement. Dmo Xian's expression turned grave. "I'm afraid the secluded palace are worried that we will take the opportunity to reduce their forces, so they are so anxious to expand their own forces." His eyes were deep. "The matter of us going to the underworld palace, the Palace of Darkness should already know about it. The act of the Palace of Darkness invading the South Wave's continent has further confirmed our guesses." Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. "Their motive is really to take over the entire Nirvana realm." But Yiqing Luo couldn't understand why the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness, that person with a distinguished status in the upper realm, had such a deep obsession towards the Nirvana realm. Chapter 3096. Call for help. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. The way to deal with the corpse puppets, other than Xian's mental power, the only way is to extract the Serene Yin's mental power to refine a weapon to kill them. Time is so tight, Yu Yin's mental force has not been extracted, and refining weapons also requires time. Even if the Wind Valley sect asks for help from the Imperial Palace has no way to deal with those monsters. The Emperor Palace's disciples were all living people with flesh and blood. How could they be compared to the corpses of those puppets? The Imperial Palace is unable to agree to the Gufeng sect's patriarch's request for help. Yiqing Luo's expression was solemn. "Beiyuan, please reject the Gufeng sect." Tang Beiyuan nodded. Just as she was about to turn around, she was stopped by a voice. "Beiyuan, agree to the Wind Valley sect." "Ah Xian." When Yiqing Luo heard Dmo Xian's words, she immediately grabbed his arm tightly. "You should be more familiar with the Imperial Palace's disciples than me. Their mental powers could not possibly be higher than Serene Yin, who specializes in mental powers. Unless his mental strength was higher than Yuan. Otherwise, the corpse puppets wouldn't be able to destroy it at all. Most importantly, the yin qi on the corpse puppets could easily corrupt a person's heart. Listen to me." Dmo Xian raised his large palm and stroked her hair, comforting her. "Whether it's for public or private reasons, we can't let Netherworld Palace occupy the South Water continent. Once Nether Palace absorbs the forces of the South Wave's continent, the other 3 continents will be restrained. If the Tenyu Palace develops, the Imperial Palace will become a stepping stone for the Tenyu Palace, and the Nirvana realm will cease to exist." Yiqing Luo was stunned. Her pink lips moved, but she couldn't say a single word of rebuttal. Indeed, the target of the Dark Nether Palace was obviously the entire Nirvana realm. The southern continent was just a starting point. If secluded Darkness Palace invaded the South Water continent and then attacked the West Water continent in one fell swoop, The West Continent, which had just experienced a great battle with the dark forces and was still recuperating, was definitely no match for the undead corpse puppets. In this way, the East and North continents would be in imminent danger. She and Dmo Xian had gone to the underworld palace. The palace of gloomy darkness must have known through by May's thick skin. They must also know that the balance historian of the heavenly lower realm had met with them. However, the Dark Nether Palace still dared to invade the South Water Continent in such a wantonly manner, directly targeting the entire Nirvana realm. Clearly, he was not afraid of the heavenly lower realm interfering. Or perhaps, the person behind the Tenyu Palace had a higher status than the heavenly lower realm. But, if his status was so high, why did they have to target a small shrimp like her? Why did he have to invade the entire Nirvana realm? Just because she was together with Dmo Xian. Just because Dmo Xian stayed in Nirvana realm, it caused the people behind the Nether Palace to feel that there was some unspeakable secret in Nirvana realm. No, something was not right. If the other party was really as she guessed. His status was above the heavenly lower realm and he was mysterious and noble. Unless it was necessary. The other party would never take such a huge risk to destroy the balance between realms that had been maintained for centuries, or even millennia. Little Luo, Dmo Xian's voice rang once again. His hand, gently placed on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and met his gaze. The most important thing is. Dmo Xian looked at her, agree to Wind Valley Sect's request for help. Then you can let Wind Valley Sect use the Vermilion Bird Pearl as an exchange condition. Vermilion Bird Pearl. Yiqing Luo suddenly understood, the main reason why you agreed to Wind Valley Sect's request for help, is because of the Vermilion Bird Pearl. Dmo Xian didn't refute. Chapter 3097. More than that, it was still a warm current. She disregarded her shyness and Tang Beiyuan's presence. She stretched out her arms and wrapped them around Dmo Xian's waist. She leaned her body completely into Dmo Xian's arms. Agreeing to Wind Valley Sect's request for help. Ultimately, it was all for her. In order to help her collect the 4 sacred beasts' pearls, in order to open the door to the upper realm. Ah Xian, thank you. She spoke in a hoarse voice as her little face rubbed against his arms. The man's strong arms wrapped around her tightly. His broad and warm embrace gave her a great sense of security. He chuckled as his magnetic and mellow voice floated down from above her head. Silly girl, I'm not only doing this for you, but also for myself, for our future. While speaking, Dmo Xian had already bent down and pressed his thin lips against her ear. The man's warm breath sprayed out. He smiled, I really can't wait to make you my wife. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly. Her fingers which were clutching the man's robe unconsciously curled up. Her little face which was buried in the man's arms was stained with a few patches of red. Beiyuan, go and reply to Wind Valley Sect. Dmo Xian gently caressed Yiqing Luo's fine black hair as he looked up at Tang Beiyuan. Bring the conditions that I have mentioned over. Yes. Tang Beiyuan responded. Wait. Yiqing Luo popped out her little head from Dmo Xian's arms. Beiyuan, leave the matter of replying to Wind Valley Sect to others first, I still have something to trouble you with. Tang Beiyuan was stunned for a moment before she nodded, yes, mistress. Hearing Tang Beiyuan's serious address, Yiqing Luo's temperature which had dropped with great difficulty rose again. She pursed her pink lips and said, if it's possible, ask Wind Valley Sect's patriarch if they can hold on for another 3 days. 3 days later, the Imperial Palace will definitely rush over. 3 days. Tang Beiyuan was slightly hesitant, the situation in South Continent isn't too optimistic, 3 days. Might be a little difficult. First bring a portion of the Xian generation disciples to South Continent. 3 days later, I will personally go over with little Luo, Dmo Xian said. Tang Beiyuan answered, yes. After Tang Beiyuan left, Dmo Xianhuan hugged Yiqing Luo's petite body tightly as he cupped her little face with one hand, want Beiyuan to refine a batch of weapons to go against the undead puppets in these 3 days. Yiqing Luo's hands wrapped around his neck. No one knows me better than Xian, you're really a roundworm in my stomach. Indeed, this was what she had in mind. Within her azure dew bracelet, a dark and sinister mental energy was sealed. First, he extracted a portion of his mental power and let Tang Beiyuan use it to refine a portion of the weapons. At least when it came to undead puppets, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Chapter 3098. 3 days later. Yiqing Luo and Tang Beiyuan walked out of the armament refining hole. Their fine black hair was in a mess, their faces were haggard and their eyes were green, showing signs of fatigue. Yiqing Luo yawned and as she walked, she glanced sideways at Tang Beiyuan. Beiyuan, go back and rest first. What about you? After 3 days of refining weapons together, Tang Beiyuan finally changed the way she addressed Yiqing Luo and called her by her name. Yiqing Luo stretched her waist lazily. Let's not waste any more time. I'll go back and tidy myself up, then bring the weapons and head toward South Continent with Xian. I'll go too. Tang Beiyuan's lips curled slightly. Her eyes were filled with fatigue but it didn't hide the melancholy in her eyes. I'll go back to tidy myself up now, wait for me. You. Yiqing Luo frowned. You should be very clear that the trip to South Continent might be life-threatening. I know. Tang Beiyuan smiled. That's why I have to go. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips in silence. Tang Beiyuan patted her shoulder lightly and smiled calmly. Moreover, these weapons to deal with the puppets are all refined by me. If I go with you, it will be easier for me to bring out the best effect and advantage of each weapon. Think it through carefully. Yiqing Luo didn't try to dissuade her, she respected everyone's choice. After making an appointment to meet Tang Beiyuan at the entrance of the palace, Yiqing Luo walked towards the courtyard. She just turned around. The familiar and elegant scent of sandalwood entered her nostrils. Her eyes lit up as her lips curled into a smile. Sorry, I was dealing with the palace's matters earlier, so I'm late. The man's gentle and magnetic voice floated down from above. Yiqing Luo was exhausted as she unceremoniously leaned her weight into Dmo Xian's arms. Carry me back as punishment. She just wrapped her arms around Dmo Xian's waist. Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something as her face congealed in satisfaction and she hurriedly stretched out both hands to push Dmo Xian. Wait, you can't carry me now. She just struggled. The man's arms suddenly tightened. The rich male hormonal scent almost intoxicated Yiqing Luo's heart. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up frivolously. I haven't seen you for 3 days. I miss you so much that I'm going crazy. How can I not hug you? The man's words of love were husky and magnetic. A pair of blazing eyes, as if a raging fire was about to burn. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red. Her brain had already been seduced by the man's sweet nothings. But her body was still resisting the man's intimate embrace again. Dmo Xian held both her hands that were pushing him away. His low and husky voice was mellow and sexy. Haven't seen me for 3 days, don't you miss me? She wanted to say no. His lips parted slightly, but not a single word came out. Why was it that she was always the one who was unable to extricate herself from Dmo Xian's seduction? Why did you reject me? Dmo Xian saw that she had stopped struggling and continued to tempt her with a low and husky laugh. Yiqing Luo's hands were held by him and her body was locked in his embrace, so there was no way for her to escape. In the end, she could only blush as she muttered, I haven't bathed in 3 days. The smell stinks. Finishing her words, she buried her face into Dmo Xian's arms. He was so embarrassed that he didn't want to speak anymore. But, after she finished her words, silence pervaded the air. This made Yiqing Luo feel even more embarrassed. After a moment of silence, she was angered by this strange atmosphere, gritting her teeth as she raised her head and stared angrily at Dmo Xian, star. Chapter 3099. Ha. Ha 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 ha. The man burst out laughing. His chest undulated, showing how carefree the man was when he laughed. The more he laughed, Yiqing Luo only felt more embarrassed. She bit her lower lip, struggled her hands and snorted angrily, laugh, laugh, laugh. Laugh all you want. The more she struggled, the tighter the man hugged her. Also, the more wantonly he laughed. Perhaps he sensed the young lady in his arms, whose anger was on the verge of exploding. Dmo Xian smiled as he held her slender waist tightly, his thin lips slowly landed on her lips. I don't despise you. Yiqing Luo. Her cheeks turned even redder. This was no longer embarrassment, but annoyance. Unfortunately, the man unknowingly raised his hand and gently rubbed Yiqing Luo's hair. Even if you don't bathe for 3 years, I won't despise you. Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth, raised her elbow and was about to knock Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian laughed lightly as he blocked her hand. Following that, his long arm scooped. Conveniently, he carried her up by the waist. Yiqing Luo's hands instinctively hooked around his neck. Alright, I'll stop teasing you. No matter how I tease you, your face is still so ugly. Dmo Xian gently kissed her eyes. Rest first, I'll call you later. No. Today is the 3rd day, we need. Yiqing Luo shook her head. I'll arrange it and set off immediately. Dmo Xian interrupted her words. Rest first, I'll help you bathe and change your clothes. Yiqing Luo. How on earth did he say to help her bathe in such a serious manner? It's not the first time I helped you bathe, why are you still shy? Dmo Xian sensed her gaze and looked down at her. Yiqing Luo. Can't be shy if it's not the first time. Don't say it as if helping her bathe was a very normal thing. Dmo Xian laughed softly. Don't worry, I won't take the opportunity to do anything to you. He paused and continued, you're so tired, no matter what I do to you, you don't have any reaction, this is so boring. Yiqing Luo. Could she hammer him to death? In the end, Yiqing Luo couldn't resist the physical exhaustion and sleepiness as she fell into a deep sleep after messing around with Dmo Xian for a while. By the time Yiqing Luo woke up, it was already noon the next day. She opened her eyes and saw the man's smooth chin. At this moment, she was lying on Dmo Xian's lap and her arms were still wrapped around his waist. This posture, it was a little too ambiguous. She blinked her eyes, still a little confused. Sensing that Yiqing Luo had woken up, the man lowered his eyes. The obsidian-like peach blossom eyes reflected into Yiqing Luo's pupils. Their eyes met. You're awake. Are you hungry? Dmo Xian caressed her face lightly. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes again and after some time, she seemed to have recalled something as she sat up abruptly. Didn't you say that you would wake me up after helping me bathe? Pfft! An irrepressible chuckle came from the side. Yiqing Luo immediately turned her head over. She then discovered that she was sitting in a carriage similar to a horse carriage and the curtains on both sides were fluttering from time to time. Yiqing Luo could see a large patch of white clouds moving backwards rapidly. Which meant to say, now, it was little Nine who was dragging the carriage, running wildly in the sky. That laughter seemed to come from outside the carriage. Yiqing Luo immediately climbed up from Dmo Xian's lap and pulled the curtains open. She saw Tang Beiyuan, who was riding on a flying magical beast outside the curtains, looking at her with an evil smile. Chapter 3100. I was wondering why the Overlord personally carried you up the carriage, so... Everything was because the Overlord was serving you. Tang Beiyuan lowered her voice to tease. But she intentionally emphasized on the word serving. Yiqing Luo tugged the curtains hard and shrank back into the carriage. She stared furiously at Dmo Xian. Why didn't you tell me that we're on the way to South Continent? You didn't give me a chance to speak. Dmo Xian was innocent. Yiqing Luo was embarrassed as she pursed her lips. It's all your fault, you didn't wake me up earlier, it's so embarrassing. You're very tired and need to rest. Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and pulled the young lady into his arms. They all know that you're my future wife and you won't be embarrassed. His delicate kiss landed on her forehead. They also don't dare to laugh at you. Yiqing Luo shrank backwards, avoiding his kiss with an unhappy look. It was easy to say. They didn't dare to laugh, but not knowing how to laugh were two different things. Dmo Xian's underlings had heard their private words. She couldn't even look at them in the eye in future. Yiqing Luo wanted to cry, but no tears came out, so embarrassed that she wanted to turn back time. Her evasion made Dmo Xian misunderstood. He tightened his arm and lifted her lower jaw as his fingertip brushed past her lips. I said before, I don't despise you, don't hide from me. Yiqing Luo, despise your grandpa. I despise you. Just as Yiqing Luo was filled with embarrassment, a knocking sound was heard from outside the carriage. Yiqing Luo walked over with a green face as she lifted the curtains. Tang Beiyuan, you still want to tease. Her words were stuck in her throat when she saw the figure outside the carriage. After the curtains were lifted, what he saw was an extremely grave and stern face. Black pupils were as cold as ice as he fixed his eyes on her. As though he wanted to freeze her into ice. So cold that it was bone-chilling. The anger on Yiqing Luo's face slowly dissipated. Chu Wuaxian. Outside the carriage, riding on a huge green wolf, wasn't that Chu Wuaxian? The human face in Chu Wuaxian's right arm had yet to be resolved. They were heading towards South Continent. Zhu Wuxin indeed had to accompany them. Was he the one who helped you bathe yesterday? Zhu Wuxin asked with a cold expression. Yiqing Luo frowned. Couldn't he tell that she really didn't want to discuss this topic? Evidently, Zhu Wuxin could not tell. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply, Zhu Wuaxian continued asking, did you willingly allow him to help you wash or did he force you? Yiqing Luo, she pulled down the curtain again, blocking Zhu Wuxin's face. Yiqing Luo, if he forced you, tell me. I will help you take revenge. Zhu Wuaxian did not give up and said coldly from outside the carriage. You, shut up. Yiqing Luo couldn't take it anymore. His rage was about to be ignited. Dmo Xian embraced her once again. Her body fell backwards and fell into Dmo Xian's arms. The man's hands encircled her waist. A large palm was still pressed against her abdomen. The scorching and thick feeling made Yiqing Luo's petite body tremble slightly. Lil Luo, or is this Lord's future wife? This is merely a normal action and has nothing to do with you. Dmo Xian's calm voice rang faintly. His long and narrow peach blossom eyes curled as a cold glint flashed past the corners of his eyes. Lil Luo, or is this Lord's future wife so naturally? This is also voluntary. Outside the carriage, Zhu Wuaxian didn't say another word. Chapter 3101. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo's little hand held on to Dmo Xian's big palm as she called out to him softly, don't say any more. I'm so sorry. I'm merely telling the truth to those pestering people. Dmo Xian's eyes were sinister as he looked outside the curtain, as though he was looking at Zhu Wu Axian through the carriage. Yiqing Luo wanted to say something as she raised her head to look at him. But she discovered that Dmo Xian's expression was extremely ugly. She was stunned, but in the end, she didn't say anything else. Dmo Xian's vinegar jar was overturned again. So be it if he was embarrassed. Anyway, love and whatnot should be flaunted. Just let Dmo Xian declare his sovereignty, his ownership. If it could let Zhu Wu Axian know that he should back off, that would be even better. The group of people, under the tense and strange atmosphere, under the acceleration of their own war pets. That night, they arrived at South Continent's main city, Valley Wind City. After walking out of the carriage, Yiqing Luo was stunned by the current situation in Valley Wind City. She remembered. Previously, when she took part in the Academy's exchange meet, she came to South Continent. The prosperous scene in South Continent was still fresh in her memory. But now, it made one's heart heavy. The sky was filled with a dense mass of flying beasts, as though dark clouds were rolling. And it was faintly mixed with lightning and thunder. The magical beasts' roars and the flying beasts' cries rose and fell, wave after wave. Looking at Valley Wind City, the flames of war raged in the sky. Figures dressed in black Palace of Darkness uniform walked back and forth. Magical beasts, flying beasts, Palace of Darkness people as well as dead corpses and puppets, filled the entire Valley Wind City. Ah! Help! Suddenly, a miserable cry was heard not far ahead. Everyone looked towards the direction of the sound. They saw a few commoners being pressed onto the ground by a few magical beasts. They only managed to make a few cries for help before they were torn into pieces by the magical beasts. It was extremely cruel and bloody. The people from Palace of Darkness are too cruel. Tang Beiyuan was also stunned by this scene. Ah Yu, Ah Lei, and Ah Feng, the three guardians, speedily stood in front of Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo as they looked around vigilantly. The few of them's appearance. This had already attracted the attention of the demonic beasts. When I came here a few days ago, it wasn't this tragic. Tang Beiyuan sucked in a breath of cold air. Valley Wind City has become like this. Could it be that Valley Wind sect couldn't have held on? He's still holding on. Yiqing Luo's gaze shot towards the direction of Valley Wind City. There are still people fighting with the birds and beasts. From time to time, the birds in the sky would rush down and crash into the buildings in Goofing City. The beasts were also fiercely tearing and destroying everything in Valley Wind City. But, on the city wall, there were also groups of armored soldiers dealing with the birds and beasts. There are innocent people over there. Take them to a safe place. The general on the city wall noticed that the few people were gradually surrounded by the beasts and people from the Palace of Darkness. He immediately ordered the soldiers behind him. 10 over soldiers immediately flew down from the city walls, blocking in front of Yiqing Luo and the others. The soldiers were all covered with scattered wounds, and there were new wounds which were still bleeding. But they clenched the weapons in their hands tightly as they stood firmly in front of Yiqing Luo and the others. Facing the savage and bloody, inhumane walking beasts, the people from Palace of Darkness had no fear at all. You all are from Valley Wind sect? Yiqing Luo opened her mouth to ask. The soldiers turned their heads curiously as they took a look at Yiqing Luo. For any normal person, on seeing Valley Wind City turning into such a bloody and brutal scene, no matter what they did, they would be scared out of their wits. Chapter 3102. In the South Waves continent, only Valley Wind City has surviving citizens. Are the other cities still holding on? Yiqing Luo didn't bother about the soldiers' puzzlement as she continued asking. The soldiers looked at each other in dismay. One of the soldiers sized up the people in front of him. He felt that the 7 people in front of him were all handsome men and beautiful women, and they all had extraordinary temperaments. It was obvious that he was no ordinary person. Especially, why do I feel like, that beautiful girl dressed in red, who was devastatingly beautiful, looked somewhat familiar. However, with the enemy in front of him, his brain was stuffed. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he had seen her. Follow us closely. We'll bring you to the safe zone first. The soldiers didn't have the time to talk to Yiqing Luo and the others. Brandishing the weapons in his hands, he prepared to carve out a path of blood. Thousands of magical beasts and the flying beasts in the sky, even if we go to the safety zone, how long can we last? Yiqing Luo and the rest didn't move. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the dark sky. How much longer can Valley Wind City last? The soldiers were startled, and they tightened their grip on their weapons. The expressions on their faces became stern and determined. As long as our Valley Wind sect does not fall, Valley Wind City will definitely hold on. You are already standing in Valley Wind City. These birds and beasts will not let you go. All of you come with us immediately. Our Valley Wind sect's young sect master and elders are guarding there. The secluded Darkness Palace won't be able to harm you for the time being. Wind Valley sect. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Then that's right. What? The soldiers still hadn't understood the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words. Suddenly, he felt a formless pressure spreading from behind him. Soon after, the beautiful young lady with a sweet smile quickly charged into the surging magical beasts ahead. The soldier's eyes widened. Miss! Be careful. Those demonic beasts had no humanity. I just don't understand. Before he could say the words, tender and protective of the fairer sex. The soldiers were so shocked by the scene before them that they couldn't utter a single word. He could only hear the roars of the wild beasts ringing in his ears. The ground shook violently, and cracks appeared on it. The sand and pebbles that filled the air turned into strong gales that blew ferociously. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of a heavy object hitting the ground could be heard. The burly, mountain-like demonic beasts that had wrapped around the young girl were all sent flying in the air like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers. The soldiers were all stunned. This girl, he looked no more than 14 or 15 years old. How could it be so powerful? In the blink of an eye, he had killed more than a dozen magical beasts that had troubled them for months. Caw! It covered the birds that filled the sky and noticed the situation here. It actually gave off a sharp cry and immediately turned into a black long arrow, charging towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Be careful. The soldiers knew very well how terrifying these birds were. He immediately raised his weapon and was about to rush over to protect Yiqing Luo. Just stay here and watch. A low and indifferent voice sounded behind him. The voice was calm, and there was not the slightest trace of emotion. However, it made the soldiers feel as if they were bound by something, unable to move. The soldiers only saw the purple-robed man who had been hugging the young girl from the corner of their eyes, staring at the young girl's direction with adoration. They could obviously see it. The purple-robed man's worry towards that young girl. Chapter 3103. Soldiers. They were obviously arranged to save these people. But they were actually said to be a burden. They were feeling indignant. But the next moment, they saw the sky filled with burning flames and the flying beasts which had fallen onto the ground. They were convinced. Their naked eyes could only see a red shadow, scurrying around. The speed was extremely fast. Everywhere it went. One by one, the flying beasts fell from the sky as though they were free. In just a moment. There were already close to 100 overflying beasts lying on the ground. Piled up on the ground, it formed a small hill. Perhaps they sensed that Yi Qing Luo wasn't someone to be trifled with. The sky full of flying beasts started to scurry into the sky, not daring to have any offensive actions. Swoosh! A gust of strong wind brushed past. The soldiers had yet to react. They heard a young lady's sweet voice coming from behind. These flying beasts are the lowest grade and have no consciousness, so they are easy to deal with. The soldiers were dumbfounded. The young lady flew forward and then back. At most it took less than half an incense's time. After that, the ground was filled with magical beasts' corpses and flying beasts' corpses. This was simply too perverted. You've worked hard. Dmo Xian pulled her into his arms as his large palm gently caressed her fine black hair. Yi Qing Luo's brows curved as she hooked her arms around his neck. I'm so tired after killing so many flying beasts at once. Dmo Xian smiled as he hugged the young lady's waist without any hesitation, encircling her in his arms. The young lady's face was filled with satisfaction as she leaned against Dmo Xian's chest, like a kitten, intimately rubbing against his chest. The surrounding 10 over soldiers were dumbstruck. Was this still the battle goddess who went on a killing spree earlier? Just a moment ago, she was still a perverted expert who didn't kill any flying beasts in an instant. The next moment, she had become a delicate little beauty. This span, did it need to be so huge? What's going on? Why are you still standing here for? Hurry and bring them to the safety zone. If the Palace of Darkness army rushes over, you won't be able to leave. Because Yi Qing Luo had killed hundreds of flying beasts. The birds hovering in the sky stopped their attack on Goofing City for a while. The general on top of the city wall got empty, and when he looked towards Yi Qing Luo and the rest, he discovered that they were still standing on the same spot, not moving at all as he bellowed angrily and anxiously. The 10-odd soldiers came back to their senses, their faces filled with shock. They carefully looked behind them at the 7 people with extraordinary auras. Everyone, please follow us to see the great general. The South Tide Continent needs talented people like you to save the South Tide Continent. One of the soldiers looked at Yi Qing Luo and the others in anticipation and joy. We'll talk about it when we get there. Yi Qing Luo popped out her little head and smiled at them. Towards these 10 over soldiers, Yi Qing Luo had a good impression of them. After all, when Valley Wind City was on the brink of life and death, for the sake of Valley Wind City and for the sake of the innocent people, the generals and soldiers who were willing to stand guard here were worthy of respect. This place was indeed not the right place to talk. A group of people quickly headed towards the city wall. Along the way, they were obstructed by demonic beasts and patrolling disciples of the Palace of Darkness. The soldiers didn't even have time to make a move. They were cut down like cabbages by the 3 youngsters dressed as protectors who had been guarding the side of the purple-robed man, one by one. Very quickly, the group of people reached the top of Goofing City's city wall. The general speedily went up, but facing these 7 people who obviously had extraordinary auras, he couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 3104. When the general saw this, he couldn't be bothered to inquire about their identities as he hurriedly called for the doctor. This enthusiasm made Yi Qing Luo a little embarrassed as she nestled in Dmo Xian's arms pretending to be a white lotus. Grand General, Grand General. The soldiers who followed Yi Qing Luo and the rest hurriedly went up to stop the general as they started talking at once. Grand General, you've misunderstood, that young lady isn't injured. Our Valley Wind City is saved. Grand General, let them join us. As long as they're around, Palace of Darkness's schemes will absolutely not succeed. That's right, Grand General, they're very strong. Extremely strong. As long as they make a move, these magical beasts and flying beasts will all be settled. The 10 over soldiers were totally convinced of Yi Qing Luo's abilities. The chatter caused the general's head to throb. The commotion over here attracted the attention of the other station soldiers. Instantly pairs of scrutinizing gazes swept past Yi Qing Luo and the others. Apparently, they didn't believe that these 7 people were as powerful as what these 10 over soldiers said. After all, these few people had extraordinary bearings as their actions were elegant and noble, and they were excessively good-looking. No matter how they looked, they didn't look like people who roamed around the battlefield. The soldier abruptly raised his hand, interrupting the voices that were still trying to persuade him. Enough, enough. All of you shut up for this general. Instantly, the 10 over soldiers seemed as though they had pressed the silent button as they shut their mouths. You say, these 7 people are very powerful and are able to deal with these flying beasts? The general frowned as he asked. The soldiers nodded their heads in unison. The general's gaze swept past those 10 over soldiers and saw that their eyes were filled with worship and expectations towards Yi Qing Luo and the others. The general's brows creased even tighter as he shifted his gaze towards Yi Qing Luo and the others. After some time, he frowned as he shook his head. No matter how skilled and daring they are still made of flesh and blood. We don't know what sinister method Palace of Darkness used to control the endless amount of flying beasts. Especially when Palace of Darkness has a batch of monsters. At this point, the general's tone became much more solemn. They are but innocent outsiders. We can't drag these innocent people into the conflict of the South Tide continent. That's right, we can't involve innocent people anymore. There are only 7 of them. Not only does the Palace of Gloom have the help of demonic beasts and birds, they also have that group of monsters. We can't harm them. When the other soldiers heard this, they all agreed with the great general's words. The general waved his hand, calming the restless hearts of the soldiers. Following that, he cupped his fists towards Yi Qing Luo and the others. Everyone, thank you for being willing to help, but we're not willing to implicate innocent people, causing you to lose your lives in vain. You should head to the safe zone. Once the people from Palace of Gloomy Darkness leave, we will send people to escort you out of the South Tide continent. Are you sure you wish for us to leave? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she raised her head from Dmo Xian's arms. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Her smile was enchanting, like a blooming poppy, with a charm that could capture one's soul. When the general's vision was fixed on Yi Qing Luo's devastatingly beautiful face, his pupils, bit by bit, slowly expanded. Following that general knelt onto the ground with a putong sound. His head knocked hard onto the ground. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.